Here we go! Oh my God! Ah!
This is what happens when science, curiosity, and stupidity all come together. I'm actually testing grinding discs today, and I'll explain this part of the experiment in a little bit. I would like to find the best grinding disc to remove mill scale. So you've heard me use the word mill scale, but what exactly is it? Well, it's an iron oxide that is formed on the surface of the steel during the hot rolling process. It's also recommended that you remove it before doing any welding. So that's what this video is all about. So when choosing the best abrasive for removing material the fastest, these are the ones that I've found that work the best. The Norton Blaze ceramic flap disc, the Pferd ceramic Combiclick, the brand new Walter Flexcut. Last but not least, we have the typical hard disc, and then there's lots of other options to use for stripping mill scale. I mean, I have vinegar, but that's really slow. You could use a typical normal wire wheel. You got paint strippers, and then of course, my go-to when I want surface finish, the diamond wire wheel. But today we're just looking at the 4 fastest methods for production. All of these discs work extremely well when they're brand new, but as a welder, my experience is once they get a little bit of wear on them, their performance really starts to decline. For this first experiment, I want to put some wear on all the discs. So I want to grind off 1 inch of this 1/4 inch thick flat bar. That's going to give us a better representation of how they're going to do on the job. No use testing a brand new one, that's for salesmen. In 3, 2, 1, go. Now that all the discs are wore out, I like to run the experiment, and I'm gonna try to remove as much mill scale as possible in 30 seconds. This is gonna give us a good baseline of how effective that these discs are even when they're wore out. And I wanna see how loud each one of these grinding discs are, so I've set up a decibel meter behind me at approximately 8 feet, and we'll see how loud they are. How loud is too loud? Well, at 85 decibels, it's recommended that you wear hearing protection. And any noises above 100 for long durations, you can suffer some permanent hearing loss. Test number 1, hard disc. Look at that, we got some results. Cut the mill scale down, that's for sure. It also gouged the base material pretty good. And take a look at that, 99 decibels for the hard disc. Pretty loud. It's the Pferd ceramic. In 3, 2, 1, go. Interesting. Can definitely tell that a lot of the bite isn't there, but it left some low spots. A little smoother surface than the hard disc. Saw the decibel meter hit 98, a little bit better than the hard disc. Overall, it worked pretty good. Let's test the ceramic Norton Blaze flap disc next. Felt like I had to push down pretty hard to get it to bite. Also, it was just skating. You can hear the grinder going, This is the problem with these discs. You get them too wore out, you gotta push harder and harder and harder. But it did a pretty good job. The Norton Blaze came in at 98. I'm actually quite surprised. I thought it'd be quieter than that. Next up is the Walter Flexcut. Ready for the test. Thing really grips, like it grabs. It feels like the hard disc the way it's able to get underneath the surface. So you get these little streaks in there and 0 to no chatter when running that. 99 dB, man, this disc is also loud. So this is the Pferd diamond wire wheel, and it's designed for mill scale removal. One thing you have to be careful of is spinning this thing too fast. So I recommend putting it on a variable speed grinder and turning it down to its lowest speed. These little barbs will get thrown out, so make sure you wear your eye protection. It probably has more usage than any of these grinding discs, so this is a fair test. Wow, that's pretty good. 82 dB. That's the quietest yet. So let's take a look to see how they all did. First one is the diamond wire wheel. And it looks like I got about 15 inches of mill scale removed. And what I do notice is the surface finish, it left the natural metal, which means I didn't go beneath the mill scale, which could be an advantage. Like I said before, you just have to be careful not to catch the edges. The next one is the Walter Flexcut. This thing really did move some material. Looks like I missed a couple spots here and there. Looks like around 17, 18 inches. And this thing just felt like it bites. No matter what, where I push it, it just removes material. Even just with my hand, it's like sandpaper still. This thing still has a lot of life in it. I think this thing could go to nothing and still cut just as good. I wish I could be Mr. Smarty Pants and tell you guys what's inside this grinding disc, but I think Walter's keeping it a secret. Even looking at it under the microscope, it's hard to tell what's inside. What also lends to the performance is the dish shape of the disc. This allows that contact patch to be nice and wide, and allows you to get the grinder at the correct angle. I could use this disc all day. The next one is one of my favorites. I have a love-hate relationship with flap discs. This thing did a really good job. Not a lot of patchy, grindy work, and I noticed I have to push really hard to try to get it to bite. So what's happening is the ceramic is a really good grinding media, but it's only held on by glue. So what I think is happening is the disc gets really hot, heats up the glue so that it's no longer able to hold onto the ceramic, and it gets flown off, leaving behind only the fabric, with perfectly good ceramic hidden underneath it. I have a whole box full of flap discs that are half used because there's still life on them. You just have to find the right circumstances where they work well. Seems like the first 50% is really good, the second 50% is horrible. But overall, it was good feeling in my hand, not a lot of chatter. This did feel awfully noisy still, but it works pretty good. So the blaze did 10.5 inches or so. Let's go to the hard disc. These things are cheap. They've been around forever. They work well. They pretty much cut all the way to the end. Oh yeah, really feel it biting. So that's gonna cut all the way till where this thing is nothing anymore. What I also notice is that you get a lot of these lines in your work because the contact point is so shallow, and it definitely cuts the metal underneath the mill scale, which is good and bad depending on what the application's for. And it did, looks like the worst for speed at 7 inches. And I think that's just due to having to go back and forth over the material so much. There was some chatter in here, which I could feel through the handle and the vibration. That is going to really fatigue you during the day if you have to do a lot of grinding. And this is the Pferd ceramic Combiclick with the rubber backing pad, and this does a fantastic job of absorbing all those vibrations. You know, it still cuts pretty good. It looks pretty good too. I think there's quite a bit of life left in it. It probably did the best job on the surface finish. So if you're wanting to grind mill scale with a grinder and not leave big old gouges, because of the way this flexes with the rubber, it really has a wide swath and leaves you a really nice finish. It moves the material. We got 10.5, so about the same as the ceramic blaze. And these things are doing very similar, but this disc doesn't have the same problem this one does with its own little flap getting in its way. If I were to choose between these two, I mean, I like this one if you're just removing mill scale. I've always wanted to know what would happen if two grinding discs tried to grind each other. So I'm building myself a little grinding arena to test it. I'm also going to pull out the high-speed camera and the FLIR thermal imaging camera to see if we can capture something intriguing. Like I said, this is just for fun, and it's not a practical experiment, but I do want to see what happens. Everything's locked and in place. So what's going to happen, this one's stationary, it's not going to move, and it's only going to spin. This one, I'm going to rock into the fixed disc. Then I'm going to try to keep constant pressure on the discs with this rod. And because they are opposite of each other, they're spinning different directions. So they should be swiping, and one of them's gonna disappear and one of them's gonna stay. Let's get this party started. For the first matchup, we're gonna go with the Norton flap disc versus the hard disc. And then for the second matchup, the Pferd Combiclick versus the Walter Flexcut. And the winner moves on. Fight! Safety glasses are on. This is gonna get dangerous. Let's see which one lasts the longest. Here we go. Ah! Scary. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Ah! Oh, look at all that smoke.
Oh, chips flying everywhere. Okay. Kill it. Whoa. Okay, that was ridiculous. Oh, look at the smoke. That is so cool looking. Look at the way that disc looks. Okay, let's take a look at the hard disc here. You can see where that contact patch was. Oh, we're getting down into the fibers there. All the ceramic, there's all our disc on the table, all the way down to the glue. This thing didn't even stand a chance. I thought for sure the ceramic would be tougher than this hard disc, but it just goes to show this is only as good as the glue, and I can see that when I'm actually grinding. The glue is the weak spot, and this is why they don't last as long. Hard disc winner. Moves on. We're learning absolutely nothing here, but we're having fun. Now let's go with the ceramic Pferd. This is basically a piece of sandpaper versus the Walter disc with who knows what's inside. I don't know, mystery material. For the ceramic disc, we need to put this rubber backing pad on first, and then this cool disc just clips on. All right, here comes the Walter. Locked and loaded, ready to go. Let's turn these things on. Oh man, I'm scared. So scary, here we go! Oh, we're in the smoke! Woo! Wow! As soon as I saw blue smoke, I knew we were done for. Ceramic, not a chance. Oh, it's blistering. I can see it growing. The Walter did good. You know what? I'd put this back on the grinder and go back to work, man. Okay, let's check out the FLIR. So this little cursor is going to target the hottest spot in this rectangular box. So the ceramic is running cooler, but the hard discs are running hotter, but they're lasting longer. So that's kind of confusing. Guess that's why we're doing this science experiments. The next battle is the Walter versus the Norton hard disc. This is something you've always wanted to do, but you're smart enough not to. Oh, let's plug these things in. Oh, I hate this part. 3, 2, 1, go! Parts are flying everywhere. Okay, I killed it in the line of safety. The glue started to come out. Look at that. What was this? If that was the glue? The Walter definitely took more damage. Besides for some chipping on the outside, Walter didn't do too bad. Look at that material though. That's pretty tough stuff. Hard disc. I'm actually surprised the disc didn't explode. They kind of came to a stalemate. Probably took away a good half of the material. Oh, and that's what our little stringy came from, was that plastic. The two center hubs started to touch each other. So if I had to choose the winner of this whole battle from early experiment to now, I'm gonna choose the Walter Flexcut because of its versatility, its speed, and its longevity to go up against the tried and true hard discs and all the flap discs. All of these are still gonna remain here in my shop. These are all my personal grinding discs, and I also sell all of them on the Fireball Tool website. A lot of you guys probably didn't know that. But the Walter disc is now my newfound favorite. The one problem I found with the Walter disc is that you can only buy them in a pack of 25, which can be quite an expensive purchase all at once. So what I've done on the Fireball Tool website for you guys is break them up into 5. Which is a lot smaller investment, and you get to try them out for yourself. I know when it comes time to remove material, mill scale, and stock the fastest, I'm going for this disc. It also comes into a 5-inch size, which I like. The hard disc is great because it's cheap. The ceramic is great if you're not looking for scratches, but for speed, it's hard to beat this Walter. Thank you guys for watching. I've learned a lot today about these grinding materials. Hope you guys did too, and I'll see you on the next one.